You are listening to the Spiritual Warrior Coach with Barbara Savin, the podcast for discovering how powerful your wisdom, compassion, and courage is. Get ready to join Barbara and her guests as they explore and offer you advice on how to reclaim your power, your energy, and your authentic self. And now, here's the host of the show, Barbara Savin.
Well, thank you for joining me today, and welcome to the Spiritual Warrior Coach podcast. I am your host, Barbara Savin, and I am here to help you reclaim your power, your energy, and your authentic self. I am a certified clinical and medical hypnotherapist, Reiki master and teacher, energy healing specialist, life coach, and best-selling author of Gentle Energy Touch, The Beginner's Guide to Energy Healing, and my latest book, Identifying the Energy Drainers in Your Life. You know, I have been helping my clients for over 35 years, and this is truly my purpose and my passion. And I always tell them, isn't it time that you believe in yourself? You know, because your mind is going to provide you with your greatest challenges in life because it's so very, very powerful. So let's use that mind for positive thinking, creating harmony, balance, peace, love, happiness, and anything else that your heart desires. Because one day the world will tap you on your shoulder and say, this is your time to shine. And speaking about shining, I'm going to bring my guest on right now. Welcome, Samantha. How are you?
Do you see that what you just said touched me so much that I'm tearing up? That was so amazing. Like it hit home because a lot of the things like you were talking about resonate for me. So, yeah.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Well, hopefully you won't make me cry when we have our conversation.
Yeah, hopefully not. I'm very sensitive like that, so it's not a big surprise. That's why I don't do a lot of video stuff because I just cry. Anyways, sorry about that.
Well, Samantha, let me tell my listeners about you. Okay, Samantha Jones. Since she was a young child, she could communicate with animals in a way others couldn't, and she knew things and had visions of things to come. And after the passing of her mother in 2004, Samantha built a strong relationship with the spirit world, eventually opening her medium and psychic abilities and connecting people to their loved ones on the other side, bridging the gap between animals and people, and then helping, people to better navigate life in the ways that they, Samantha can help them live a happier, healthier, and more prosperous life. And Samantha strives every day to show people the beauty of the universe that we live in and hopes to make a big enough impact to change our world. And in addition to being psychic medium and an animal communicator, she is also a Reiki master, a certified spiritual coach, energy healer, and aspiring writer. And Samantha co-hosts a weekly podcast with her husband, Danny, and they discuss all things metaphysical and spiritual. And together, Samantha and Danny try to help people along their spiritual journeys and to bring more peace and love to their lives. And Samantha lives in Southern California with her husband, Danny, her 17-year-old stepdaughter, Marina, 2 Great Danes, and a Labrador Retriever. And boy, that's a busy home.
It is, yeah.
Welcome today.
Thank you.
I'm so happy
much.
that you came on. When I saw your thing on the podcast, I said, I have to have you because, I know for myself, I've had 5, beautiful dogs. And, of course, when they pass, we always think of all the things that maybe we could have, should have, or could have done. But of course, we love them with all our hearts and soul. And
yes.
I know, when I read that you were an animal communicator, I says, got to have her on my show.
Yeah, the animals are the biggest part of my life. They're They're so unconditional with their love
Yes.
that, it's like a spiritual connection for me with them. Yeah.
Oh, I know. So I know you said you've been psychic. So, how did you actually find out that you had these like amazing abilities?
Well, my animal abilities I recognized when I was really young, but I just didn't know what it was. As a kid, you think that this is all your imagination. Adults tell you it's your imagination. You can't possibly be hearing the dog talk. There's no way.
Mhm.
But the first experience that I really remember, I had a dachshund and she had gotten out. And while she got out, she met a boy dog and, did what boys and girls do and
Mhm.
was expecting her first litter of puppies. And I was really worried about her because I had a bunch of friends over and we were playing and stuff. So I asked her to go to her doghouse. But what I did is I sat down on the ground and I can't remember if I closed my eyes or left them open. I want to say they were closed. And I just told her with my mind, please, what I want to tell her, please go back to your doghouse. And that's exactly what she did. She turned
Oh,
around and walked to her doghouse and like, okay, 7 years old, you don't know okay, that's a coincidence, but a pretty cool one. I have magic powers. But I kept having those kinds of experiences growing up. But I did not know that there was such a thing as an animal communicator. Like nobody brought that up. I knew about psychics. My mom had been to psychics a lot. I actually even went to therapists in the back of an Akashic bookstore when I was younger. So it's very much something I was raised around, but nobody ever said anything to me about animal communication until I was like, I think like 20. And then
oh,
my ex-husband's aunt had mentioned this animal communicator that actually lives out here. Her name's also Samantha. And she had made these cassette tapes that kind of told you how to do this, how to meditate, and all of that. And so his aunt let me borrow those tapes. And I listened to them and I learned that this is what I was doing and I learned how to do it. And since then, I've, just been using it as much as I can to help people and to help their animals. And then I learned I was psychic about 5 years ago. The psychic medium skills, they just came through really quickly. It's like I had a spiritual awakening and there they were,
they were.
all at
Mhm.
once. But yeah, the animal I've known for a long time.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it's funny how, growing up as a child, I myself, my mom would always tell me it's my imagination, and she's, who are you talking to? Well, I had all these spirit friends in the room, but, we could see them, but of course other people can't. So it was challenging, like for myself growing up. But,
Yeah,
it's a beautiful thing when we finally accept the fact that, yeah, we can, feel and hear things. And
absolutely.
so you were what, in your 20s when you developed all this, or?
My animal abilities, yes. That was long before like you could just go on the internet and like look up how to do this or whatever. So I didn't really honestly believe myself that I was doing this. And I was always accurate with people's animals, but I was still like, it's got to just be a coincidence. There's no way. And then I went through a divorce and I moved back to California from Las Vegas and I just kind of stopped using my abilities. I didn't believe them myself, so why keep using them? And then
Mhm.
when I opened those psychic medium abilities, obviously the animal abilities all came right back. The first night that everything opened, I could hear everything that my dogs were saying. And I still, I used it occasionally like with my animals when I needed to know what was wrong with them, but I wasn't having a conversation like I do now with them. It was way, way, way different. So yeah, that really strong connection honestly didn't come until about 5 years ago. And now I really see so deeply why I have these abilities and what I can do with them. And yeah, it's wonderful.
It's crazy when that happens. We had a Roddy, and he passed away it's about 20 years ago. And I remember he didn't feel well, and I went over to him, and I felt that he had something wrong with his stomach. And so we decided to take him to the vet. But before we took him to the vet, I kept on hearing him tell me, I need to leave. I need to
Mm.
leave. And I said, no, you don't. I don't understand. He says, because you will be moving to California. And
Uh-huh.
mind you, I lived in Brooklyn. I said, are you kidding me? You're gonna be moving to California? That's like, you have to
Yeah.
be like joking me, and
Yeah.
And he kept on telling me he couldn't come with us because at that time they didn't accept, that type of dog. And mind you, though, he was 12 years old already. And then, of course, he passed on. He passed on in March. And then in December, my daughter called, and she lived in California, telling me if we had found the house, because we were looking to move to Florida. And I said, well, no, we're not doing anything. And then they asked, why don't you move to California? And P.S. that February, almost 1 year before Sammy died, we moved to California.
Wow.
And I said, wow, he actually, I could hear him tell me all this. Yeah. And I thought it was my, when I mentioned it to my husband, he says, oh my, it must be your, because maybe you want to move to California, so you're thinking, but I did not have it on my mind. So yeah, it's amazing how they can talk to us.
Yes. And what you said too about, that he told you that and that he passed at that time, this happens a lot. And it's hard for me to explain to people, you have a life change coming up, and this animal feels that it would be better for them to not be around for the life change. Yeah. Whatever it is, it can be it could be a move, it could be a new baby, it could, whatever, a divorce. They do that. They do that to try and make your life easier. And because, as you know, death isn't what we make it out to be. It's not at all. So they're not afraid of that. They're not, oh, I don't want to die. They're not like that. Totally different.
No, I feel, God put dogs in our path to love us unconditional and to know what it is to love unconditionally, without being judgmental or anything like that.
Yep.
And they're beautiful animals. I mean, not just, you took cats, birds, all animals are beautiful beings, they're all creations, but so, I know the animals do talk to us. And I know that that animals do talk. What do you? So, if somebody hears their animal say, so they're not psychic or intuitive, or I think everybody's intuitive though, but it's just how we tap into it. Say if animals do talk to people, do you think that they really don't pay attention to it?
Yeah, I think that happens even with the spirits. I think people hear things in their head that they know is something else, because a lot of times it'll be something that's really honest. And you're like, why would I tell myself something so honest? And that right there is points to, okay, somebody else is talking to you. So yeah, absolutely. I think that we don't know that we're hearing them, or we don't want to believe that we're hearing them, but we absolutely are. Yep.
Right. Yeah. It's, I feel all we need to do is be more aware and mindful, and just to pay attention, and also sometimes just be more in silence, than all the chaotic stuff that goes on around us.
Before I learned about my abilities, my husband's always been a dog person, but he didn't have the kind of connection to them that he does now. Now that he sees what I can do, and he's learned from me how to communicate with them, he can talk to them and does sometimes hear them back. But he's very good at talking to them and telling them, to do something, or making them try and calm down if there's something going on. So this isn't something that you need special skills to do. It's just something you have to be open to and practice,
Now, do you, when animals say pass on, do you tap into their spirit?
Absolutely.
And then, so I would assume people call you then, to find out what may have happened to their animals. Is it just dogs, or any animals that you
any animals? Any animals. I work with a lot of horses. I love working with horses. Dogs, cats, birds, ferrets, all those pocket pets, even reptiles. And I love working with the reptiles because they have a very different take on things. But yeah, the number one thing that I do in my work is help people with their pets after they've lost them, after they've crossed over. To most of the time, it's, are they okay? That's the big question that I get asked. And so, I tune into the animal and I give them things about the animal that I couldn't possibly know, things they like to do, or random stuff that they give me. And that helps them to know, oh my gosh, my animal is here. And then a lot of times they'll show me what they're doing on the other side. Like, I see this Rainbow Bridge area. And so, like, if there's a dog or cat or whatever that, like, let's say that they really just like to explore areas, I'll just see them exploring this Rainbow Bridge area. And that's a way that they give me hints of, this is something to tell my owner that I like to do, so that it's confirmation. And these things really help people to heal after the loss of an animal. It really does.
It's devastating. I know when I lost my, it was Sandy, but I used to call her my little girl. I was so devastated. I couldn't function for like quite many days. I mean, so depressed and stuff. And yet I knew it, why she left. But it was complete devastation because we love them so much and they love us so much.
That's right. It's an unconditional kind of love. And it's something that we don't get from anybody else. And so when we lose that in our animals, it's very hard. I hear from my clients, more from my clients, that it's harder for them when they lose an animal than when they lose a person. Like, they will literally say that statement to me. I lost my dad, I lost my, whatever, but this loss of an animal is harder than anything else. And it is that unconditional love. It's also the fact that they don't talk to us in that way, in that English way. So we can't say certain things to them, or at least we don't think we can say those things to them. They know how we're feeling, especially when they get to the other side. They absolutely know everything. But the common person that doesn't have these abilities and doesn't talk to an animal communicator has no clue what kind of impression their animal went away with. Were they sad? Were they angry? Were they terrified? What was it? And so they want to make sure that their animal isn't in that same frame of mind, or that they're not guilty. A lot of people feel really a lot of guilt for even putting their animals to sleep when they're ready. They feel guilt about, so that's where these readings come in, and my job comes in, is to be able to help people to understand this is okay. It's a natural part of life. Your animal is okay. They're there. They most likely will reincarnate to you. If not, they'll be there when you get there.
I know. I went to my daughter's house, and because, as I mentioned, her pit bull passed on Sunday, and I couldn't even bring myself to go there Monday. So I went there yesterday, and I made some pictures, and I gave her the poem, The Rainbow Bridge. But I told her, don't open it until I leave. Because
right.
I didn't want to really have
a meltdown.
Meltdown. So and she said to me, is there such a thing? I said, there really is. Dogs, like you mentioned, the Rainbow Bridge, they're happy, they're running, there's food, there's water, and then they see us when we then pass, right? And here they come running to greet us.
Exactly. Can you imagine that? All of your animals that you've ever had just running to you when you get there. Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
I know. And boy, there'll be a lot, because we got parakeets and hamsters and dogs.
Yeah, me too. I've had a little bit of everything. Yep.
A little bit of everything. And it's so I know, like, in this lifetime. So do you think that we see, I know this is maybe a little far-fetched question, do you think we see animals that we may have had in past lives?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you think about it, we're soul family. They're our soul family, and we traveled through these lives together. So why wouldn't they be the same souls that we've been with in other lives if they're part of our soul family? Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's probably why like, I know every dog we've had was a rescue, and it's funny because when we looked over, it was just like we've known them forever.
Yeah. Yep.
And then they came home with us.
Yep. With our Great Dane that we rescued about a year and a half ago. She's an old girl, and I knew that she was coming to us. I had been told that she was going to be coming. And so when she did, I felt like I was reuniting with the soul that I knew before. I knew that I didn't know what dog it was, but I knew that she was the reincarnation of some dog that I had before. So when she got out of the car, that the rescuers brought her, I greeted her like I had known her whole life. And she's like, "Whoa, lady," like, "I'm just meeting you," because they don't know, they're not
No.
aware of that they had these past lives and everything. So, but yeah, I definitely believe that our animals in this life too, that they will keep coming back to us in this life, just as different animals, that we continue to work with the same souls.
Yeah, I really feel my buddy and my Sammy came back as Sandy and Alex because they had so much in common, but they were the ones that came back were tiny. So
Yeah.
whereas the other guys were larger dogs. And I says, oh,
Yeah.
you just know.
Yep. I think that we have two Great Danes right now. We have a male and a female, and I'm pretty sure that the male was a ferret that I had, my very first ferret when I was like 18 years old. And I had the similar connection to her. And I used to sing her "You Are My Sunshine." And for
Oh,
whatever reason, I've never sang that to another animal that I've had. And then I just started singing it to him. And so I feel like that was like a sign of there's that connection of that's the same soul. So my huge 160-pound dog, the
wow.
biggest dog I've ever had, is probably also the smallest animal that I've ever
That you've ever
had.
had. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's incredible. See, I think they reincarnate in different ways. So like maybe a hamster would have reincarnated into a cat or something else, I feel, in this
Yeah,
lifetime for
absolutely.
us. Yeah.
Yep.
So let me ask you, like, what do you think animals say to us? I mean, I know what mine said to us, but like when people call you, what are they looking? Well, like you mentioned that they want to make sure that the animals are fine, but is there like anything else that they're looking to find out about the animals?
Yes, I also work with a lot of living animals, and in those cases, I do things to help a lot of dogs and cats and other animals to like integrate into a new home. And so a
Mm,
lot of times they will tell me about like their old home that they were from or whatever. But one of the reasons that I really like to do this behavioral type of work is because a lot of problems that people have with their animals can be solved this way because they can't really understand them the way that I can because they
mhm.
can't use the telepathy. So I get a lot of questions from people like, why is my dog like this? Why did they do this? Why does why does my cat that was feral once upon a time not want to be held? These kinds of questions where then the answer comes directly from the animal. So, like if I have a cat that doesn't want to be held because they were once feral and it makes them feel trapped or whatever, they'll tell me that. And then I can pass that on to the owner. And it's like a little light goes off. Oh, right. Because I think people forget that just like us, each animal has their own personality. And their personality was shaped by whatever comes in their genes and whatever their early life experiences were, just like us. So if you have a cat that was feral until they were a year, 2 years old, or whatever, chances are you're not going to be able to hold that cat, you know?
Wow. And they wouldn't know, unless they actually speak to somebody like you, and then they don't know what's
Yeah.
wrong with their animal.
Exactly. Health conditions too. A lot of people come to me for that, especially if like a vet can't get down to the bottom of something, like if there's vomiting or whatever, and the vet's like, I don't know, everything's fine. I can kind of look and see where the issue is. A lot of times I'll get those psychic intuitive messages that tell me like it's a food allergy or whatever, and then we can change the problem. And more times than not, I would say my success rate on issues like this is probably 90%. Like
That's
it's
smart.
very high.
Mhm.
No matter what the situation is, if it's moving, people use me if they're moving, if they're going on vacation and they just want to tell their animals what's going to happen. It all calms them down. So there's a lot that they can talk about for sure.
So if an animal doesn't feel well, you can like zoom in and just feel what the
Yes.
issue could be or the challenge.
Absolutely, absolutely. I had a friend that messaged me a couple weeks ago and she said that her dog was just acting weird and they didn't know why. He didn't want to play ball or anything. And he pointed out to me that he had an issue in two places in his back, that it was his neck and then a little ways more down towards like the middle of the back. And she told me that he had kind of had an accident when they were out, like they were on vacation and he was playing, and I think there was some kind of accident. So she said that totally makes sense. Don't want to necessarily keep her from taking him to the vet. Like I still want people to take them, but at least when they go, they can say, I think this is what happened. They're better in that way. But knowing that a lot of times will help people calm down. I mean, I don't always have that good of news that it's, something that is easily fixed or will go away on its own. But I think when people hear from somebody other than a vet too, that yes, this is where the problem is, because you really don't know whether you can trust the vets or what. So
I know.
Yeah.
What's
It's helpful in that
most
area.
of the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you use, I guess I'm going to ask you, do you use your same abilities on people?
I do. Okay. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you can, do you see if someone has an issue, like a health issue also?
I have not done as much of the people work as I have the animal work when it comes to medical, mostly
Okay.
because I don't want to say it scares me, but it is so like high risk that if you like were to say, there's something wrong here, but it's in another place or whatever, or it's not a big deal. I don't want anybody to ever say, I didn't go to the doctor because this psychic told me it's not a big deal, because not
Right.
100% correct. But I do a lot of energy healing work. So when somebody tells me that they have a physical issue, I can zoom in on that area and try and relieve some of the pain or whatever's going on there. So mostly with the health wise, that's the way I use it. It's not so much
And
diagnosis, but to help.
that way. Do you also like do communication with, like psychic readings with
Yes.
your, oh, okay. So you do that. So it's not just animal communication.
No, I do it all. I love to do it all. It's, it is all a little bit different. The spirits, the animals, they talk different. And then of course doing the human readings. When I first started and learned about my abilities, I didn't want to do like love readings and human type stuff because I didn't want to get involved in people's lives like that. But now I realize that sometimes I have information that can really help people to improve their lives. And so I'm not so weird about it anymore. Like I actually really like doing the psychic readings.
So let me ask you what, because I know there are some really authentic psychics and then there aren't. So what is like the biggest misconception, I want to say, about some psychics out there? I know some of them are really, really good. And some of them I'm like this about.
Yeah. I think that probably the biggest misconception is that we're supposed to know everything, that we're supposed to, here's an example. My husband and I are looking to move. And so we were watching videos on YouTube of a place that we're interested in moving to. And we were looking at like just shopping centers just to see what their shopping centers were like. And there was a psychic in this one shopping center. And the guy that's giving the tour, he says, "Oh, look, a psychic." He's like, "You know what? If I go in there and I ask them to tell me what my name is and they can tell me what my name is, then I'm sold." And it's like, okay, some psychics maybe can do that, but that's not how this works,
No.
So that was for me too. I'm not going to lie. Like, I honestly didn't know until I developed these abilities what was really going on and what wasn't. Like, I had a medium reading after my mom passed away, and the medium told me, "Your mom wants to know how your birds are." Okay. She used birds with the plural. And I only had one bird at the time. And I thought, my mom would know I only have one bird. That is being really a stickler and picky. And that's not how this works. That's not how it works. It's like a lot of times it's like putting a puzzle together. And so you have to be open to helping the psychic interpret what they're seeing. Being open to the fact that we don't know everything. Like, I get asked a lot of times, what's the name of the spirit that's coming through? I wish I could tell you. Like, that's just not something I'm good at yet. I hope to one day be good at that. A lot of psychics can do that. So maybe one day, but people have to understand that we all have our different strengths and weaknesses. A lot of people also think that you're reaching for information. Like, you're not really telling somebody about themselves. You're just telling them something generic, but that's that's why in my work, I always give people things that there's no way I could know. They're not just things, like, oh, your favorite color is blue, where, maybe I'll get that right. But things like this one guy, his mother passed away, and he kept her socks and shoes next to his side of the bed, his bed. And that's what she told me, is she showed me with these socks and shoes next to his bed.
Yeah.
How is that just
Hard to know.
random?
Mhm.
Yeah.
You wouldn't know
So
unless they told you.
right, exactly.
When you, like, I know when I'm doing healing, I get messages. So, and it sounds like it's like in a far away tunnel,
Yeah. For
but
me,
sometimes they come right here in front of me.
yeah.
But yeah, right. Sometimes it sounds like they're in a tunnel.
Yeah, I think everybody maybe sees and hears things differently. My sister, she gets her visions, she says they come from the back of her head. Mine
Mm.
come from my third eye. When I see things, I focus in my third eye on it, just like as if it was another eye. But yeah, everybody's different. The sounds, like words, them talking to me, usually comes in just like my own voice, just like, having a daydream or talking to myself or whatever. It
Mhm.
usually comes in that way. It just depends on, exactly what it is. But yeah.
So, so then when you just psychics, you can read other, people that, not just here living, but those that have passed on and stuff.
Yes, absolutely.
Does ever does it does ever a past life come into play?
I have not, that I can think of, had anything like that. But I think one of the reasons is I'm not totally open to it. Like, I'm not against it at all. I know we have past lives. It's just that it's
Mhm.
not something that I work on, so I don't usually get into it. I've had people ask me, about past lives, and I try and like just refer them on to somebody that maybe does that kind of work, because since I don't work on it, it's not something that I'm familiar too much with. So I don't think so. I don't think that's happened.
Yeah, because even like for myself, I mean, sometimes during a healing session, I'll see a past life, but
Yeah.
I think for the most part, we need to live in the moment and in the now rather than
Yes.
what was, because you can't undo it, and sometimes I say to myself, is it really real that may have happened, you know,
Mhm.
or just could it be an imagination or just an image? We don't know. So that's why I tell my clients it's important to focus on now and
Yes.
and clear what now needs to be cleared, more
That's
than
yeah.
yeah.
That's what they want us to do. That's what the universe wants us to do. Not focus on the past lives. If we were supposed
No,
to focus on those, we would know about them. So yeah, I agree.
exactly.
Yep.
So I mean, have any of your readings or animal communication readings, have they ever, because I'm just curious, have they ever mentioned what heaven is actually like?
Absolutely. And this is something too that, like, I've sat down with, like, my mom's past. I have a lot of family on the other side. And so I like to see these things. I like to know. My husband also is very inquisitive, so he'll ask me all these things and we'll connect and get those kinds of answers. So the animals, like I said, they usually show me the Rainbow Bridge and what they like to do. But I feel like heaven is all like perception, and it's a
Mhm.
perception based reality. So, obviously we're energy, we don't have eyes, but somehow we still see there and all that. But I think that heaven is anything we want it to be.
Wanted
it,
to
it
be.
we create it. It's
Yeah,
not a standard.
yeah, I feel that. I feel though, when we leave, I feel it where we leave and then we sit down at a huge table and they tell us what we've done and what we needed to
Hmm.
heal and whether we want to come back and
Right.
make it right. So yeah, but that's
Yes.
that's my how I feel. So because I know I've been a healer in other lifetimes where I was actually killed. And
Um,
so this lifetime, it took me until my grandma was a healer. So
uh-huh.
she's always, she came into my life, and I was with her for the first 18 years of my life, and then she passed away. But I really feel that, like for myself, I didn't get back into my authentic self until I was in my late 40s because I actually was afraid to go back to that in fear of maybe being, killed.
Sure. Yeah, I think for a lot of us with these kind of abilities and these feelings, that as we get older, that's when it naturally makes sense too. Like, I don't know that I could have handled all of this when I was in my 20s. It's a lot.
It's a lot to handle.
Yeah.
I know. So, do you feel that some people, it takes them then a while to actually become spiritually awakened?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I guess it depends on what you consider to be awake. Um, I think that the spiritual awakening probably keeps happening because you're constantly learning, you're constantly opening new things. So, like, how am I awake? I would say so. Yes, I definitely believe that. But can I be more awake? Probably. So the spiritual awakening probably just keeps going and going, and I don't know
Oh,
that.
yeah.
Yeah,
I really feel it's like an ongoing process, and it's
exactly.
lessons that, hopefully we understand, or the lessons just come back a different way so that we, try to figure out what is it that needs to be accomplished or let go of. So
Yes.
I think we all have, all of us are spiritually awakened. It's just a matter of us tapping into it.
Yes, I agree.
I know animals are definitely spiritually awakened. I mean, they're the most beautiful souls ever.
Aren't they? We're so lucky to have them. We
Hmm.
really are. Yeah.
Yeah, as I mentioned, I really feel God, put them on this earth to show us the meaning of unconditional love, and
Yep.
without being judgmental, and just to love another thing, being,
Mhm.
just for who they are.
Yeah. It's hard for me, like, this job, I love doing it, and I love helping the animals, but I'm so hypersensitive. I can't handle any kind of animal abuse.
Mm.
Everything bothers me when I know that an animal is not being taken care of properly, or whatever. I have such a hard time with it. Even just thinking about, random things like the orcas at SeaWorld or whatever makes me sad.
Oh, I
Like,
know. Oh,
I just want them all to be happy. I want them all to have a good life. But I do realize too that animals are placed here also for us to learn lessons with. And unfortunately, some people don't learn lessons the way that they
mhm.
should, and they act ways that they shouldn't. And so then the animals have to pay for that. Unfortunately, that's part of how the universe works. And as with this job, I've just had to kind of accept that. But I laid ground rules very early on that there were certain things I didn't want to see. And like animal abuse, I don't want to see it. If you need to tell me that there was some kind of animal abuse,
Mhm.
just say that. I don't want to know specifics. I don't want to see it. And so even with things like an animal being hit by a car, I usually
Mhm.
won't see what happened. I will just like feel impact, or they'll draw me to where the most impact was, but I don't see it. And I'm so thankful for that.
Yeah, right. Because we get
Yeah.
so sensitive, and we feel that energy, and it's like it clings to us a little bit,
Yeah, exactly.
and then it's a little challenging to clear it sometimes.
Absolutely. It is. Yep.
Yeah, because I know even for myself, some, because I go to homes many times, and clear spirits in the house, and and I'll see an animal in a dog in a cage, and well, why do you have this? Why do you have the dog in the cage?
Mhm.
Or what? Then why are you having an animal? It actually upsets
Yeah.
me, and then
Yeah,
I
me
feel
too.
so bad for this poor little thing that's locked up in this cage, and I don't understand why people do that though.
I don't either. There's a lot of things that I don't understand why people do, why they would treat their animals like that. And I do have a problem sometimes when
Hmm.
I see those types of things and have to confront people. I actually do bird grooming on the side. I used to do pet sitting, but I stopped doing that, but I still do bird grooming. And I had this one client I actually just did earlier this week. But when I first went out the very first time to groom this bird, it was the woman's mother's bird, and she had the bird in a cage with like mesh completely around it, and it was zip tied on there. So this bird basically had no view going out. There was no way for that bird, for the people to open the door, they could just open the food dishes and put food dishes in and out. And I was like, how do you expect me to groom this bird? And I asked her to let me have the bird. I will find it a good home. That's how bad this was. This cage had not been cleaned in 20 years. It was just horrific. But you know what? Because I confronted her on it and I was very, calm and nice and respectful about it, she changed that bird's life. And now he lives with her in her home and he's allowed out of the cage all the time. And he's a happy bird.
Yeah. I mean, we used to have parakeets and birds back east, and I always would let them fly, and I would always keep the door open, and know, they knew to go back in, and they would never fly. We always made sure that windows and stuff weren't open. But I feel if we're gonna have a pet, we really need to treat it the best we can, because it's not just a pet; it's a being. It's a human, even though it's not human. It still deserves to have a beautiful life.
Absolutely. And when we take that animal into our home, we are saying, I'm going to provide for this animal the same way that I would a child, with medical care, with food, with the things that they need. But often that's not what happens. And people don't like the fact that animals live such a short life. And I used to be one of those. But now I realize that if these animals lived as long as we do, there would be so much more suffering. That would be horrible. So it happens the way it's supposed to. The universe did it this way. It's flawless, and it did this way, right? Correct.
Yeah. Well, my little guy, he lived to be 19 and a half. And when he, we had to bring him to the vet to bring him down, because it was time. And the vet said to me, I still can't believe that he's 19 and a half. I said, well, you know what? He lived a good life.
Yeah.
We took care of him like he was a person, because we loved them with all our heart. And, and I would always, say, I would do anything for my animals. I mean, anything.
Yeah.
And that's what people understand. It's not just an animal. It's not just a dog. It's not.
No, there has never been a person in my life that has made me feel the unconditional love that my dogs do. It's just how it is. And some people can't understand that. I would rather spend my day at home with my dogs than go out and deal with people. It's just, they're wonderful creatures. Yeah.
They sure are, believe me. But so I know you have a podcast with your husband. What's the name of the podcast?
It's Spiritual Philosophy Chatter with the Joneses. Long name. So if you want to search for us, you can look at Spiritual Joneses on all social media. We talk about, the where the name came from is that we would sit and have these kinds of chats where it was like we were, philosophizing and whatever. And so that's kind of what we do in the show. We talk about all kinds of topics, spiritual, not spiritual. We've talked about everything, communicating with the universe, to black holes, to everything. And then I also just started about 11 weeks ago. I have a radio show as well. And that one is called Beyond the Bridge. And that's on Voice America every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So I have both of the shows going right now, and they're a wonderful way for me to get these messages out to people.
Well, that's why I started my podcast, because I felt I need to have other people talk about what they do. And I think it's really important that people have more understanding, especially of the spiritual nature of things.
Yes.
Because we want to inspire people to live their best lives. And I feel that's what podcasts should be about.
Yes, I agree with you. Actually, my radio show is on the Empowerment Channel on Voice America, because that's where it fits in, is empowerment. That's what I really want to do, on top of helping people with their animals and, talking to their loved ones on the other side. I want to empower them to live the life that they want to live. Because before my spiritual awakening, I was not doing that. I was not living my best life, or the life that I was put here to live. And I've learned so much, and I want to share that with people. I want to share the beauty of the universe. So that's, the radio show really allows me to do that, and the podcast. But yeah, both of
Well,
them.
that's important. We need more people like you, on this world.
I
you know,
agree. I
you know,
agree. Yeah. Yeah. We need
more,
more animal communicators.
yeah, and more, and more motivational, speaking,
Yeah.
because everyone's been so negative lately. It's, I
Yeah.
mean, I do see a little trend of it getting better, but it's been a tough, while with this world.
It has.
Mhm.
I'm hopeful for the younger generations that they're going to be more awake than our generations and hopefully change things going forward. That's what I really hope.
I hope so, because
Yeah.
it's, living a spiritual life, I think is very important, you know,
Yes. I'm
it helps.
I am happier than I've ever been in my life, and I accept the fact that my life is not perfect. I accept it's never going to be perfect.
Hmm.
I and that I'm going to have these human problems, but because I've accepted that and I've realized that I'm here to I don't want to say I'm here to struggle. We're all here for these, ups and downs. That's why we learn. Once you accept that and then you can accept the hard times better than you used to, that is in itself to me has been worth everything that I've been through. Just the change of mind that I have when I'm going through something bad is totally different than what it used to be. It still sucks, but I
Oh
just look
yeah.
at it different, you know?
Well, that's the thing. It's funny because well, yeah, it's almost a year ago. I had to have parathyroid surgery, and
Oh
it's funny
gosh.
because one of my clients said to me, "I don't understand. If you're a healer, why can't? Why is it that you can't help
Right.
yourself heal?" Well, guess what? I'm human, and I need to go through stuff too.
That's right.
So
That's right.
it just is what it is, and that was my this path. I was supposed to go through the surgery in order to see maybe things that I wasn't seeing before.
Right.
And, it did, wake me up a little bit,
Yeah.
you know, in the sense
Things
to,
will
to
do
be
that. Yeah,
more,
like that.
yeah, more responsible and to look at my own blood work, with more open eyes than to be so trusting, to a doctor, but don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
of course we want to trust, but yeah, I think we need to be accountable and take responsibility for ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. And you make a good point there, like about healing yourself. This is all the energy healing is very new to me. It's probably the newest thing that I do. So I'm still really learning about this. And I had COVID over Christmas. And not only could I not heal myself, but I couldn't heal anybody else. When you're not feeling yourself
Mhm.
and well, you can't expect to be able to heal yourself or anybody else. So
No,
even like
no.
fixing my dog's hiccups couldn't do that. And that's something that's usually like really easy for me. And I couldn't
Hmm.
do it. So it definitely, even a healer's got to have their own healer. Absolutely.
Yeah, without, I mean, yeah, we had COVID twice, and yeah,
Oh gosh.
it was very challenging, and and I know for myself, I had to cancel all my podcasts, I had to cancel everything,
Yeah.
and I said, all right, maybe I needed to get ill to step back a little bit and to rest.
Yes,
Sometimes the
exactly.
universe hits us with things that we don't understand sometimes,
That's right.
but it's messages to help us in a way, um, to do something maybe, a little different.
Yes, and the universe will do those things if like you're not supposed to go somewhere or do something. The universe will do those things to stop you from like maybe going someplace. My stepdaughter, she came down with COVID. She was supposed to go on a trip and we weren't feeling really great about the trip to begin with. And then all of a
Hmm.
sudden, a friend of hers came down with COVID. She didn't even have symptoms, but she tested and was positive and couldn't go on that trip. And I was like, thank the
Thank
universe
you.
for stepping
Hmm.
in. It's a horrible way for her to have to spend the weekend instead of being away, but they did that for a reason. And once we realize that they're trying to help us with these things we do, it's kind of like, okay, well, I'll just go with it and know that you're looking out for me and for my best. And it is what it is.
Oh yeah, that it's
Yeah.
acceptance, and I'm
Yeah.
not saying, oh, why did that happen, and not getting crazy over it because there are true reasons behind why things happen. I feel.
Everything. Yep.
Mhm.
Absolutely everything.
And all we need to do is just to listen to those voiceless voices that do speak to us, you could say,
Yeah,
giving us
I agree.
messages.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, I mean, look at us. Even we try to get together with our podcasts, and everything was like crazy. So,
Yes.
and I said, all right, I say when the spiritual timing is right, is
Mhm.
when it'll happen.
Because we originally had it set during when I got COVID. But
Yes.
I
Oh,
had
I know.
asked you to reschedule because my house
Mhm.
flooded, I believe. I don't even
Yeah.
think it was the COVID that took me away, it was the house. My daughter
It was the
also
house.
totaled her car. Yeah, it
Yeah.
was like so many things happened right there. It just wasn't
Mhm.
a good time. So you're right. When it's the right time, we will do it. And I had to get through December. It was like, woo. And now we're through December, so better time. Yeah.
I know now it's almost February. Do you believe that? It's like,
No,
where did this month go? It's so quick. But
time
well,
goes fast.
you know, I love having you on the show. I'm going to definitely give you a number, if you won't mind, out to people that I know that are looking
Sure.
for someone to tap into their loved pets that have passed over.
I would love
So
that.
where can my listeners actually get a hold of you?
So you can find me. My website is samanthajonespsychicmedium.com. You can find all of my social media there. You can schedule an appointment there. The podcast, the radio show, it's all listed right there. The podcast comes out every Sunday. You can find that on all major podcast platforms. Like I said, if you search at Spiritual Joneses, it's the easiest way to find it because we have such a long name. And then the radio show also gets posted to the podcast platforms, even though it's live. And that the name of that is Beyond the Bridge. And you can find that there too.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Good for you. Good for you.
Thank you. And you
Yeah.
know what?
So
My next move is I want to be an author. And I love how you've already published books. Like when you were talking about that, I was like, the universe brings you people for interesting reasons. You know?
oh, it's the truth because I have my energy healing book that was published in 2016. And then my new one, Identifying the Energy Drainers in Your Life and Learning Energy Protection Techniques, just came out 2 weeks ago. So
Love it.
it's, dreams do come true.
Yes.
All we need to do is to find that purpose and passion and really to move forward, with it.
Yep. To trust
No
it,
matter what,
surrender.
yeah, surrender to it. Yeah, no matter what our age. So
Yes.
and I, like for myself, I'm going to be 75 this September. And I say, all right, it's never too late to write a third book. So,
It's never too late. As
yeah,
long as you're alive, it's never too late. Absolutely. For
exactly.
anything. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So tell
Yeah.
one more time your website.
SamanthaJonesPsychicMedium.com.
Okay. Well, Samantha, thank you so, so much for being on the show today. And
Thank you for having me.
oh, my pleasure, believe me. And to my listeners, I hope you heard what you needed to hear. So, visit me at motivateyourlife.net. And please subscribe to this YouTube channel, the Spiritual Warrior Coach Podcast. We're also on Spotify, Amazon, iHeartRadio, and a lot of other places. And if those of you maybe, interested in learning energy healing, check out my book, Gentle Energy Touch, The Beginner's Guide to Energy Healing, and it's on Amazon. And thank you so much for listening and have a beautiful week filled with love and with light. Love, Barbara.